Hello, hello, back again. And we are already doing our third page on the channel. And once again, it will be for a prompt of the coloring checklist challenge from Color and Chat with Sammie. All links will be in the description. And prompt number 4, since I will skip the third one because I don't have a printer or toned tan paper, and that's exactly the third prompt, I have to skip this one due to technical difficulties. So, prompt number 4 will be color a page by an artist beginning with C. So, for me, first thought was, oh, Joseph Kattenbang mythographics. Easy. But since I have so much of them, I don't want to jump back again to those. So, we are doing the Camilla Derwent books because they are so beautiful and so pretty, and I haven't colored in them for a while. And I already picked out a page, and it will be this one with the mushrooms. I think he's so cute. And I want to do these red, really, really red. So, and the next difficulty for me, but I mean, it's not difficult, but I have to switch my gears a little bit because this book is double-sided. So that means no Ohuhu markers for me. Oh my god! Okay, but therefore we will bring out some other goodies, and I haven't decided yet which of one I will use, but let's show you what I have brought out where we can decide from. And we start with my Neocolor 2s. I have the biggest set. Barely used, as you can see. So these babies are an option. Then next we have my beloved Derwent Inktense pencils. Ta-da! And we have the Tombow markers. I'm pretty sure I will use these just to show you because I got a few requests to show how I use them. And since this is a double-sided page and I can't jump on my Ohuhus in this one, this will be a good opportunity to show you. Okay, what else? Do I have something else that I could use here? I don't think so. And I think for pencils I will go back to my Prismacolors with these. That's all I figured out for this one, just how I want to color this and how I want to color the sky. It will be, I mean, we are not going for fantasy sky here. I want a contrast between the red mushrooms and maybe a light bluish background, just a normal, easy sky, nothing fancy. Okay, so also I think the red mushrooms will be a good thing because I will for sure use the Derwent Inktense down here. I would otherwise use maybe the Tombows, but we are dealing with water-based mediums on this one, and this means I have to be careful with my Posca pens later on, since they will lift like crazy and the highlights will not be white, but pink. So therefore I will still go with a not soluble base for these, just to prevent my highlights to get all ugly, and I don't want them to be pink. The colors for the dragon, I have absolutely no idea right now. I think he will also be a little reddish, since just to match him with his beloved mushrooms. And so therefore I will bring out my Derwent Inktense and we will start with the mushrooms. Okay, so I have my 4 pencils out. Inktense, I will use Poppy Red, Chili Red, and for the darker parts I took out Red Oxide and Meta Brown. That's a very reddish dark brown. And then let's see what we can do here. 1 second, I will bring you a little deeper. Okay, so very effective way to prevent me from getting my head under here is to put you down so close that I can barely fit in between. Okay, so let's start. And at this point, I'm already thinking where I want my highlights to be. So I will not close the whole area because I know I want to have somehow highlights down here. So I will leave these spaces out for now. I can still close these up later on. If I feel it's not enough, then I can do with Inktense, or I can choose to close it with pencils later on. So that's not an issue. Also, I moved my camera holder a little bit, so it's now attached somewhere else. I hope this will also deal with the wobbliness a little bit better. That we will see afterwards. But I think for now it's already better, right? I think it's a little too bright. You can barely see the colors because there is a little bit of color. Oh, okay. Okay. I just realized when I posted the lovers page that we just did on Instagram, or also when I took the pictures of it, the colors on the picture are way more realistic than on the camera. So that's something I have to deal with someday, that you can see the true colors. But I just tell myself that in these videos it's all about the techniques and how I color. And for the finished real colors, you can go to Instagram. I know that's stupid. It's just a joke, just a joke. I will figure it out one day, hopefully. Maybe it's just because I'm using my phone to record. Could be. But for now, there's just no budget left for camera, for a good camera, for an actual camera. So the phone will do. Okay, then red oxide. And yes, I'm already mixing colors. I don't know if you're supposed to color that way with Inktense, but it's my way to color with Inktense. Okay, and last is Madder Brown. Now I have to adjust myself from using Ohuhu markers over and over and over and over again to not be able to use them. So interesting. Okay, I think that's enough as a first layer of color. When I would know where it... here. Great. Good. So, as I said in another video, I usually use the medium-sized brush. I feel I don't have enough control about the blotchiness with the smallest brush, and with the biggest one there's just too much water. Okay, and then I start here in the middle and also wet the white parts so the red can flow. That's a little too wet. Okay, if I go into the white spots, that's okay. We can fix this later on. I think I will cover some of the black lines with Posca anyway, so there's a little too much water for my liking, so I just dab it off. Okay. That's still a pretty bright layer and a light layer, I know, but it's okay. It's just the first one. Are you close enough? Do you want me to go closer a little bit? Let's see if we're on focus. Okay. Now I know what I forgot. I forgot my palette. It's still in the drawer. Okay. Okay. I try to avoid the white spots, but if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. It's okay. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot of water. Okay, while this is drying, we are going to the next one. Once again with poppy red, we start. I don't press too hard. If you watched my Space Cat color along at the last part, you saw that I laid down the Derwent Inktense exactly like I did right now. And the layer and the color that we got from that first layer were okay-ish. But we had to work over them again. It was more like a roadmap for me than the actual layer. I could have even gone a third time over, but it was enough for me. But this here is exactly the same. This base layer will just help us to find the colors and will later on not look like this at all. It will get way deeper and way richer than it is right now. And that's chili red again. Okay, maybe let's get this in a little bit more, so we have at least a little bit of variation in the red tones next to each other. Then I jump straight to Mather Brown, so the darkest color. A little here and there. Just like I said, so it's a little bit different between all of them. Okay. Brush again. I think that's enough for now. Better be careful and just build up layers than sitting there and having way too much, or because with Inktense at least you can't remove it. If it's there, it's there. There's no way back. All or nothing. But once you have the feeling for them and use them for a while, like I did, and learn how they behave, what they can do, what you can't do with them, then it's a very deep love, at least for me. Okay, here we have some streaks that weren't dissolved correctly. So just rub over those streaks in all directions. Okay, so we have the next one. Now we go to the next one. At this point, I'm starting to slow down a little bit. I want these sections to dry in between a little bit so I don't end up with a completely wet surface at one point and can't move anywhere because everything is wet. Okay, maybe we can bring some little brighter stuff into these small ones. Let me see, what do we have? Shall we do a little bit of orange? Why not? Let's bring tangerine and scarlet pink. Tangerine. Where are you? Here. And scarlet pink. Let's do a little bit different. It's tangerine. It's very orangey. That's okay. And scarlet pink. Also be aware the red Derwent Inktense, or the red tones in general, also I felt the same way with neocolors, seem to dissolve a little bit harder than many of the other colors. They tend to leave streaks, pencil streaks behind. I'm not sure why it's that for especially the red colors, but yeah, don't press too hard. Better go over the areas multiple times, but don't press too hard. In between, I'm just cleaning my brush with 1 or 2 swipes on my paper towel. Okay, that's pretty orange, but it's okay. The next one will be red again. And yes, I pretty much, unless I'm doing a background, I activate my areas, my little areas right away. Because if I don't like the color that I laid down in this area and then have another object that should have the same colors, then I have the ability to change my colors in the next element when I see in the first one I didn't like it. That's the only reason. And chili red. Also this way I always just have a little area that's drying, that's wet, and don't have a huge area when I activate a bigger part of a page, and then there's pretty much pretty bad stress on the paper, and it will warp and crumble way more. Therefore, I just activate little areas. So the last one was red oxide again. Oop. Okay. You can see we are already getting different red variations right here. Okay, then maybe let's make this big one. I think, at least what I usually do for the red parts that I want to be red. I'm not sure if I will do it here too, but it's a possibility. I will use maybe my Tombow markers for the red parts just to get the red richer and brighter and more colorful. But if I do, I have to consider laying down my highlights first, just to prevent the lifting and the color change of my highlight with the Tombow markers, because these will not stay where they're supposed to be when I go in with Posca pen. They will absolutely follow the flow. And that's absolutely not what I want. But that's their nature, that's what they do, and if we know, we can work around that. Okay, chili red. Quite heavy. Is it wobbling? Yeah, it's still, but it's not as bad as it was before. It's still somehow attached to the desk, so as long as it is that way, then we will wobble through our pages. That's okay. Okay. Oh, red oxide. Mix, mix, mix. I think it's okay if this mushroom is a little darker. Since it's the biggest one, I think it's also the oldest one. Okay. Okay, it's drying up here. That's good. For this prompt, the artist with a C. Of course, I thought at first for Joseph Katimbang, but I also thought about Emmanuel Collin, so the Coloriage Wild ones. And crazy as I am, for a very, very brief moment, I thought about Nicholas Chandra Vianata. So, yeah, Serene. But yeah, I would like to finish this prompt somewhen this year and not maybe in this ongoing decade. So, and I really want to take my time with Serene when I work in this, um, and just zoom out. Maybe I will do a Serene page one day on YouTube, but for right now, it's even for me a little too much. And then I thought, well, I'm just searching for the C's in the last name, but maybe we should go for the C's in the first name. So, hey Camilla, here we are. And I felt that her books were getting way too less love from me, way too little, and they deserve more attention from me. So here we are. Okay, think for the base, that's okay. To deepen it up, I will scribble then later on the palette and then just go with a brush. But yeah, so this other one, this here and this here. Oh yeah, it's doing this fun stuff. So you can maybe see here are some spots occurring, and that's from the paper. I've seen some questions in some of the coloring groups I am in. What are these? As far as I can tell, this is just from the material of the paper. There's nothing you can do about it. They're just little particles during the production that are more solid and bigger particles, and they will soak up water and pigment and will occur way deeper and richer than the rest of it. And Camilla's paper has it. Some of Kirby's books have it. And I think there was another one that I just can't tell, but I had it in another one too. For me, it's not an issue, but if it happens when you are coloring, don't wonder. It's nothing that you made wrong or where you made a mistake. It's just a paper. It's sometimes considering what you are doing, what element you're coloring, can be a little annoying, but it's from my part, there's just nothing you can do about it if you're working with water-based mediums and put a lot of water on it. There shouldn't be any issues when you're working with pencils only, then they will not appear, but for the wet stuff they will. Okay, so maybe once again we go for a little bit more orange and bring in a little bit of tangerine just here. So yeah, these spots, they can absolutely revisit us when we are doing the dragon or the background. I am aware of it and I'm fine with it. So for me, it's not a big issue. If they are there, then by any means they are there. If I'm talking totally garbage right now and somebody is out there who's saying, no, you can do this and that whatsoever, at this point, yeah, please give me the tip if there's something that I can do, but please don't tell me to cover my whole page with Mod Podge or stuff like that, or gesso or stuff. I will not do this. It's no, no. just the imagination of coloring on top of a kind of gluish and no surface. It's not for me. I will I will happily deal with the little spots on the paper, but I will not color on top of gesso or Mod Podge or whatsoever. No. No. But if it's for you, then my God, nothing wrong with it. Go for it. If it works for you, then go. But I will not do it. And it's not just because of the fact that you can barely get gesso in Germany anyway. So, I mean, in nearly every bigger art supply shop, you can get the polychromos, since Faber-Castell is a German company. But it's super ridiculously hard to find Prismacolor open stock in Germany. It's ridiculous. We have a few online shops, of course, but if you want just to go to a shop and buy them open stock right there, it's nearly impossible to find them. So your chances to find polychromos or just the whole Faber-Castell range is way higher in Germany. They don't like Prismacolors over here, I think. I don't know why. I love them. I would love to go shop for them open stock in an actual store. But well, on the other hand, I saw some posts in some Facebook groups too, where people were asking where to get coloring books and stuff like this, and I'm always so jealous when people are posting their um, finds from just go to shopping somewhere and find some actual coloring books that are good and known and not one of those cheap ones, like if they find Kirby or whatever for a price where I say wow. So especially I saw on some stuff some Kirby's for $2, $3, something like this. And then you go to a German bookstore and go to the hobby section and try to find coloring books, and then you have maybe two. In the very most part, it will be um, a brand named Top. That's a brand. They are bringing out multiple crafty and creative books for multiple topics. They are also covering like crochet and sewing and stuff like this. But they are just so absolutely not my style. Or you will have Rita Berman, since she's also German. And if you're really lucky, you get one or two Johanna Basfords, and that's it. So in retrospect, it's not very surprising that you will not get a bigger a range of artist pencils like Prisma or stuff, or Luminance or whatsoever, if you can't get the books. So the coloring community in Germany just doesn't seem to be as relevant for shops and stores. What's really unfortunate and really sad. So the hunt for coloring supplies or artist supplies, if you're not going for oil paints or acrylic paints, that's a whole different story here. But if you're looking for stuff like this, then you have to be a really good hunter, really good treasure hunter to find a shop and then protect it with your life. So yeah, that's something really sad about Germany. I can't get my beloved Prisma's open stock here. Okay. enough of crying. I think I will sit down in the corner later on and then will cry for them, but right now it's okay. Okay, so did it help a little bit? A tiny little bit. Good. So let me just let this dry, then I will bring my palette after I brought you to the center of attention again, of the frame. And then, like I said, I will give them 5 to 10 minutes to dry. At this point, I will not bring my hairdryer to dry it. It wasn't that wet. And then I will be back with my palette, and then we will use the Derwent with the brush from the palette instead of coloring with the pencil. Okay, so here we are again. I just took my palette and already scribbled out the colors that we used. So this is Meta Brown, this is Red Oxide, this is Chili Red, this is Poppy Red, Scarlet Pink, and Tangerine. Okay, so from darkest to lightest in the red mushrooms and just the 2 more orangey colors that I used. Okay, and I think we will do the biggest one, and then we will see how long it took us, so I can decide which steps I can just skip with you. Let's see. Okay, I will start. And also I realized I forgot this little baby mushroom back here. That's just Meta Brown and I think Chili Red. Okay, so I will start with the darkest color, actually. So I can map out where I want this mushroom to be the darkest. And it's here under the claw. In between the toes. Down here. If it's still not dark enough, I don't worry about it. First of all, I could go over it once again if I wanted to, but I think we will only do 2 layers with Inktense and then do the rest with pencils. I think that's what I'm going to do with this. Just not to stress out the paper too much, but if I find that the paper behaves very well, then I can go on over with a 3rd layer. I'm just trying to... A book where the paper absolutely impressed me in terms of how much stuff it can handle was the Mythic World by Kirby Rosans. If you saw my flips of all my finished pages that I did, the lava monster, the lava beast that I made, it has so much stuff on it. Not just Tombow markers, but also Inktense, but also acrylic paint. But it took it like a champ, and there is no bleed through on at any point. Just none. I was so heavily impressed. And if you're wondering if you don't have that book, if you're wondering how good the paper behaves with wet stuff, then this is just incredible. The other thing that I want to mention, if you're coloring like this, also if you're using markers, I don't know what it is with the red, but even though you are using, let me say, greens with markers as watercolors, so meaning scribbling on a palette and then using it with a brush. The first colors that will start to bleed through. I don't know if it's because the pigments are so strong or whatsoever, but I always have to be careful with reds. They are soaking in the paper and they are bleeding through at very first colors. It's crazy. Um, Also, I sometimes use the markers directly on the paper and then smooth it out with a brush. That's also something I do. So just laying an area down with markers and then take my brush and just scribble over it, so it will bleed or run a little bit and dissolve a little bit. But with red, I really don't trust them. It's freaky, really, really weird. So there are colors that behave like an absolutely charm and will do nothing to your paper at all. They are completely harmless, and then there is the red and comes in and like, boom, here am I. So, okay, you want me here, but don't mind if I go to this page too. So yeah, no, don't do that. Stop that. That's very, very nice from you that you want to explore my book, but stop it. Um, I did this like putting down the marker and then with a brush with the Stabilo fine liners too. Don't do that. Don't do that. The red ones will immediately soak through half of your book. I don't know what it is, but they are crazy. Um, I can use them from a palette with the brush. That works okay, but the risk is still very high that it bleeds through. But using them as a marker on the paper and then wet it with the brush, it creates its disaster immediately. It's I remember, I don't remember what page it was. It's been a while, but I remember sitting there and being done with my page, and I knew how to use them and how to color them, so I didn't constantly check on the back side of my page until I was done. And then when I wanted to close the book, I just did it in a way that the page flipped over to the next side, and I saw what happened, and I just thought, so what the heck? How did this happen? I colored like I always do, and this never happens. And I had already colored some other pages in that particular book. That I can remember, but it never happens, and I was so confused. And it was again just the red colors. I don't get it. I mean, it probably has something to do with the pigments of red colors by themselves. There's no way I can imagine other ways. Um, but yeah, what I want to say is be careful with red. Red is a very tricky thing. And I know how sad it is if you have something bleeding through the page that you don't want to. We can check if these reds are doing the same. No, they're not. So there's no bleeding at this point. That's I didn't imagine this with Inktense at this stage happening. They stay pretty much on their own page where they're supposed to be. But at this point, I'm not even surprised if it happens when I do this. And I can already tell you exactly that I have chosen a page for one of the next prompts that I want to do. And I can tell you why. If you have seen when we are talking about messed up back pages, um, when you have seen I think the last part, yes, the last part of my Space Cat, um, I at one point blacked out the frame of the page, and I used black gouache paint. So it's a water-soluble, very thick watercolor. So, and I used my plastic protection sheet around it, so let it stick out a little bit and then just go over it. So I got a little bit of paint on this thing. That's not the problem. If you continue watching this video, then you can see that I go back and color some stuff in. I think with some kind of markers again. Oh yes, it was the glass on the helmet, the green glass. And then I realized, oh, I forgot my protection sheet again. So what you can see me doing in that video is grabbing my protection sheet, my plastic protection sheet, and put it behind. So far, so good. If you pay attention to this protection sheet, you can see there's still black paint on it. So imagine what happened. So yes, the black paint from the border hasn't been dried. So the next page is a very cute froggy page and is now stained with black gouache paint. Very thick paint, gouache paint. I realized it after I was finished with recording and started to put away my stuff. And usually when I finished, it's just a habit of mine, I flip through the book. And I flipped over the page and my heart stopped. There was a very thick, very deep black line exactly across the eye of the frog and parts of his body. So, oh no, no, no! Why was I stupid? Why didn't I check? I mean, I know exactly why I didn't check. This recording thing is still pretty distracting for me, and the concentration is all over the place. But yeah, so now we are having a frog with a black face. Since it's gouache paint and it was really a thick line, so you could almost scrap it off. I tried that to leave it dry and then scrape it off, but it ripped the paper. So that's not what we were doing. But instead I dissolved it with a wet brush and then took a paper towel and put it off, or took it off. It's now way lighter. You can see the lines again underneath. The problem is before we had a line and now we have a splotch. And one of the prompts in the coloring checklist challenge is actually using acrylic paints. And this will be the page that we will use or do with acrylic paints, and I will try. We will see how it comes out, but that's the way how I will try to fix and to rescue this little froggy. We will see, so stay tuned for that. This will be interesting. Okay, so I'm happy with the intensity of this layer. Now for the stems, I think I will switch over to Neocolor since I don't have the warmish gray tones that I want for them in my Inktense, and also I would say let's bring in a little bit of variety, right? Okay, I will put this back, we'll bring out my Neos, and we'll be back in 1 second. Okay, here we go. I already scribbled them out after I cleaned my palette up, and I have brought out, I will use, this one is beige, Neocolor 2. Then we have flesh. I'm not sure if I want to go to a more yellowy, browny stem or if I want to stay in the grays. I'm not sure. Then the next one is raw sienna. That's this one. Then we have Van Dyke brown. That's this one. And the darkest one will be raw umber. Okay. Um, I think I will be brave and at least lay down the beige with the crayon directly on here, on the outer parts where it should be deeper. Maybe this will already be enough for me, I don't know. It's all trial and error at this point. So the inner part should be brighter, therefore I leave them out. Oh, that's the only thing I really don't like. They are so bulky and it's hard to get in specific areas for me, at least. That's why I prefer them from the palette, but I want these areas to be richer and darker, so I will use the crayon directly here, although it's not my preferred way to use them. Okay, down here it should be a little darker. There's not that much light coming through. Okay, so now I think I will activate these ones and we'll see how the colors are, if I like them already, if I even need these, or if I'm already happy with the outcome of this. Let's make sure we have no red on the brush. Cleaning it up. Okay. Once again, going from the middle part where no color is right now to the outer parts, kind of shoving the colors and the pigments towards the lines. I think this color is already pretty fitting. There's still a little bit of red in there. Just, yeah, reds. I tell you, red pigments. They are the evil of coloring. Okay. Activate down here. Yeah, this is a very good base color for me already. I really like that. Also, this beige color is one of my go-to colors when I want to color rocks. I think this is one of the colors that I use constantly. I mean, constantly. You could see how big my crayons still are. So don't use them as often as I should, at least for the price they cost me. They are not cheap. Okay, that's good. Then let's see, can we somehow make this darker without changing the color too much? Now I have to see if there are any colors. No, nope. So we have to be very, very careful, and I will go with raw umber and will use a lot of water. I don't want it to show up as an own color at this point. I just want it as a tint of it. Let's see if that's enough. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay. There's red. Where is the red coming from? I think there's something stuck in my brush. That's not good. That's not what I want. Okay, that's better. Adjust the edge a little. Okay. And then once again with a lot of water up here. Oops. A lot of water. Okay. Here I could not get in with the crayon itself. I don't know why, but as soon as the brush hits the paper, I stop breathing. I don't know why I hold my breath, but the weird things. That's why I'm coloring so fast, because otherwise I would just die. Down here. Down here. Now the glare is too heavy. I can't barely see it, even in person. Okay. This line is a little too harsh for me. That's better. And surprise, surprise, it's not dark enough for me. Okay. So once again, I would stay now with the dark umber. I don't want to have that much color variation, so these ones I will not use. But if I wanted to use them, I at least had them. So that was a waste. But you can see that I did not scribble that much, and it still goes a long way, so it's not too bad. So at this point, just 2 colors. And you can already see that there's still variation, considering how much, depending on how much water you're using, you can get a completely different color. Okay, I think here we can go with a little harsh line, just like oop, when the light comes from above. And that's not too far away that the shadow would fade out. So I think we are okay with a little bit of a harsh line right here. Just make sure to get it darker on the upper part of this area. Okay, this up here is a little too hard for me. Okay, then we can maybe embrace the beige a little bit more. So again, it's got a little lost. Okay, that's already it. So maybe, let me think, will I do this with neocolors or pencils? I will do the spots. I was thinking about the spots, but I will do them with pencils later on. Maybe even a little gouache paint. I mean, if we are bringing all the water-based mediums anyway, so let's throw all of them. But that will then possibly be the step that we do the last. Okay, so where are we? An hour. Fine. I think I will color now, or bring out my Prismacolors, and then I will try to find my colors for the mushrooms, and we'll do some of the more darker reds and maybe one of the more orangey. And when I'm satisfied with how I have, I will come back to you and show you how I colored it, what color I used. But yeah, I think we are at the point you saw. You saw what I used as a base for Inktense and Neocolors, and the Prisma part I will show you in a second. So we are back a few hours later. Actually a few hours, but that didn't work all the time through here. Don't be shocked. Yes, you can see I finished these mushrooms here and I left this one and this one so we can do them together, but this will be the final product. Also, I laid down a very light base with Neocolors for the background, and that's just the light cobalt blue and the light blue. So very light layer with the lightest color. Make sure, or at least for me, I make sure to really use light hand and try to get it on the flat edge of the crayon, so I won't get any harsh lines. And I would prefer to go multiple layers, very light layers, than to have harsh lines, because these won't dissolve properly. And just for a little bit of variation, here I worked either more light-handed, because this here you can see this was not much pressure, but it will create lines. So we will see if this dissolves later on. I left it free here. Maybe I can show you how light-handed I worked, but at first we will finish up these two guys. Okay, so I would say let's start with the more orangey one. What will I use? Okay, let's start first. I know you can't read it, but it's cadmium orange hue, I think. Let me just quick check on a bigger one I have. Second. Yes, I said it right. It's cadmium orange hue. And pale vermilion, as I know. Yes, and Scarlet Lake. Okay, and for the lightest parts, I will actually try to use Deco Peach. And that's what we are starting with. Just where I want it to be light. And yes, I actually used a bit of Tombow markers here for the darkest areas. We will do this for these ones too, so you can see. I already tested. I told you to be careful with using red markers directly on the paper. I tried it and they hold on. It's okay. I didn't use as much water beforehand that it will suck right through it. So we will be okay. I tried it off camera just in case. If I get some bleed throughs, I could switch my techniques. I feel comfortable enough that I could have solved it when I would color that impacted page afterwards, but it didn't bleed through, so I would have shown you, but as you can see, nothing happened. Okay, then a little bit darker on the bottom. It took a while to finish these, not gonna lie. I mean, you can see how long these videos are already, and I try to do as much as I can without you missing out on anything. But I try to do as much as I can off camera. Okay, then we will take Crimson Lake. Yes, I try to finish the pages off camera as fast as I can. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not working due to daytime job and adulting stuff. But yes, I'm kind of grooving in my style of doing videos. We will see. Also, I'm very curious when I will have the first corrupted video part and lose my footage for the first time. I'm totally aware that it will happen one day. It happened to so many people. But it will okay. I just not tell you, and we'll just start another page. Okay, black raspberry. We are going now to the shadow parts or to the darker parts of this. I already pushed pretty hard. I already forgot that this paper doesn't take too many layers of the waxy stuff. But we can still work with it, it's fine. Okay, then white. In between I switched to Prismacolor. I don't know why. I couldn't find the Chinese white because I packed it away somehow, and then I said, well, then I will switch to Prisma. I mean, it's just what is nearest. Then this is cool gray 90%. Okay. Okay. I think for the red that's already fine for me. Then we go down to this big guy. And here we will start with black raspberry. That's what I did here too. I will go for this color, this more dark, almost, yeah, kind of violet, burgundy, mahogany color. Not sure how to call it. It's a little. I think that's what I'm aiming for, at least roughly. If the colors didn't match exactly the mushroom next to it, or each and every one next to each other, that's just fine. I mean, nature and stuff, you have variation, not everything is 100% the same. Although nature can be incredible when it comes to make things completely identical, at least to the eye. But I'm fine. When the colors are not 100% matching, then it's okay. Okay, a little darker down here. But now that I switched back, I feel that I'm so much more comfortable with Prismacolor and so out of training with the polys. It's so different. Really, they are just completely different. Okay, then we will take mahogany red. This mahogany will give us the little more reddish brown tone. Oh, and I colored the stems in too, and then I realized, okay, I did a little bit too much, because then I realized I haven't left any of them blank to show you. These are just some French grays. It's the French gray 50, 70, and 30, and then blended with white. And in the crevices here, it's cool gray 90 and black. And then just blended a little bit with white, and that's basically it. So I trust you that you can do this. Like I said, just the French grays in multiple shades, and that's basically it. Okay, bring it in here a little. Down here we are gonna go darker. Okay. Then the next color we will take Nectar. Just color this in the sides or on the edges, on the transitions where we stopped with the mahogany. Overlap a little bit. I'm not pressing too hard, but with at least a little bit of pressure. And then the lightest part is again Deco Peach. Now I'm pressing a little bit harder because I'm starting to blend already. And try to close the tooth a little bit with this one now. Okay, then white for the very light parts, just roughly. Okay, then bring back the mahogany a little, where I went too light now. And then we go in with a little bit more red, and that will be Crimson Lake. Now I have to be careful, I don't want it to be too red, so just lightly to get a little bit of red in here as a hint, but not as an actual color. Down here a little harder. And on this side. Yep, that was too much. Okay, no problem. Just go back, Nectar. Make these streaks a little less obvious. Okay. And then, where's my Deco Peach? Here. Yeah. Let's try that again. The Crimson Lake. Just down here. Then Black Raspberry. I think with the top part I'm already happy. Now we are working on the bottom part a little bit and on the sides to get it darker. You too. Okay, then let's bring something darker, and that's espresso. So dark brown. As you can see here, they're pretty dark. but I don't think I can achieve the same color down here. I think, let's see, maybe. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, then a little bit of black raspberry again, because we missed the seam down here. Okay. Up here we have a little bit too harsh lines, so mahogany. Yes, these lines are getting worse right now, because here we stopped to blend, or to smoosh, to press very hard. You can see this, definitely, where we stopped. Okay. Then Deco Peach, just to get rid of these streaks. Now I'm working with little circles also, but just for a moment. Okay. White a little bit. Okay, that's better. Okay, then where is my cool gray? Now we are getting really dark. Just down here, in between here. Come up on the sides. Okay. Here. Okay. Between the toes, and a little bit of shadow around here. Up here a little bit. Okay. Here a little bit. Now I will jump just back and forth between the dark colors, like the black raspberry, the espresso, and so on, until I'm satisfied with the color. Then I lay down a little bit of shadow below of these, or underneath these dots, just to get in a little bit of dimension. Has not to be super clean, tidy. Okay. We forgot this up here too. Just on the biggest ones. It will not be obvious if you missed one or two. It will make a difference if there are some shadows, but if you miss one or two, it's not too bad. Okay. And espresso. I can see some colorists out there that are watching me scribbling around and think like, oh my god, what's she doing? What is she doing? Why is she doing that? Because that's just my way. All of us have their style and it's completely okay. As long as I'm satisfied with the final result, and most of the time I am, I think I wouldn't post it any other way. But yeah, so each of us develops his own style at one point after you found out what works for you, what does not work for you. And from that's the point where you start, where you really start creating your style, and that's what makes the pages look different. Okay, so there's that. Then I will show you what I did with the dots. Although you can barely see it, but I used the French Gray 50 and went in on the bottom and really just scribbled it in, because these are not smooth points, dots, or pimples whatsoever, however you want to call them. And so, and I will cover most of it with gel pen or Posca anyway, so it's okay, even if it looks weird right now. Trust me, trust the process. Trust the process. Down here, okay. And the 90% French Gray 90. Once again, just on the bottom parts of the big spots. It's enough. Here's a little bit of shading missing underneath. No problem. You can do it with the cool gray 90 or the French gray 90 or whatever you have. Okay, so voila. I should maybe do it on the top one too, since it's a little brighter, this one, and younger. I just used the 50% here. Okay, fine. Then I jump into my jelly rolls, just so I use something different than just Posca. Maybe we can go back to the middle, or is it better here? Doesn't matter, right? Okay, then we start. I try to cover a little bit of the line on top and leave a little more exposed. Leave the line on the bottom a little bit more exposed. This will enhance the shadow a little bit more and make it look a little more realistic as far as this image goes for realistic terms. And these jelly rolls, I often find myself to think, oh my, it doesn't cover up anything. But keep in mind this, these gel pens need some time to dry. They will get a little bit more opaque as soon as they are dry. So bear with them and give them a few minutes, and if they are still not covering enough, then just go over it again and then it should be fine. But in the first round they will look terrible, but give them a second to dry. Okay, like I said, just cover the top part and then just let it fade out to the bottom. And that. Okay. And as you can see, that's also just scribble. If you lose a little, or if you miss a little bit in between and the French gray is showing through, it's totally fine. Like I said, these humps, these bumps are not even in reality. And here you can see the jelly roll is drying and it's getting more opaque. I missed the line a little bit. Okay. Didn't realize that this thing has so many of these spots. But we're almost through. And then we can go to the highlight parts and then we go to the Posca. Because for this one, I will do it the same as I did with the Earth planet on my Space Cat page. I will lay down my highlights first and then basically color around with the Tombow markers just to prevent them from lifting, or so my highlights will not lift the Tombow marker afterwards. Therefore, I will just turn the order around and lay down my highlights first and then come on with the Posca. And we will just a little bit put in the darkest areas to get them really dark. And that's it. So we will not cover the whole mushroom with Tombow again, just in some areas. Okay, here I colored some of them over. Let's bring them back. Okay, 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 good. Then for the small one, so this was a 0.8. For the small one, I will take my 0.5 and hope it will work. Yes, okay. And then I just go in and color or draw in some highlights between the spots, like here, you can see. Just here and there. The same way like I do these highlights, I would do them if I would color, for example, a strawberry. I would do that the same way. So lay the shadow down in between the little seeds of a strawberry. That's what I do here too. Okay, I think that's enough for this. And then for the bigger parts, I will go back to the 0.8. And we will do this for here too. That's a pretty big mushroom, so it's a pretty big highlight too. And if you want to ask me how I decide what shape this one should have, I have absolutely no clue. If I had, I would of course tell you, but I just do what I think it should be, what feels natural for me. But I haven't planned it. I don't have a reference picture. I just do it. And what's good about the thing that we used Prisma, and actually really used quite a bit of Prisma, is when I don't like what I'm just doing, just wait till it dries, or when it's completely dry, and then just scrape it off. It works perfectly fine with this thick layer with this thick layer of Prismas and this waxy layer. It's completely fine. You can scrape it off later. Let's color this in. Getting a little clogged here. And I think I will just activate a little bit of the background together with you, and then we will have the second part for the dragon, and then we will have the whole page covered. So this one will also be a two-part color along. From what I see right now, I think 2 parts will be enough. Let me check. Could be even a little bit too much. But I mean, that's good, then I can show you how I scrape it off. Yeah, I think that's down here, it's too much. There you go. I mean, it's just a little bit residue in between because I didn't burnish it down here completely, but that's okay. That was mahogany, then just with white. It isn't. It's okay. So then we will go back. The highlight was right there, but it was too big. That's all. It was too big for my liking, my taste. I think that's better. And just a little bit here. Here. And on the outer line here, on the outer edge, I think that will be enough. Up here. Do I like this? Just to check. Does this make sense or not? I don't know. I don't care. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay, that's good. Then, as promised, let me get my Tombow. Of course, I packed it away. 1 second. Okay, so I have 2. This one is for this smaller one, the 856. That's a pretty rich red, and that is more like a brownish deep red. That's 837. I think we will start now. We will start with the light one. So, and just a little bit. We will not go over the complete mushroom, just where we laid down the darkest areas. And from there, we take just our brush and spread this out. It's the same as if we would have used it on the palette. We will just spread out. And try to color around our highlights. As you can see, if I would have done this beforehand and then went over with my jelly roll, my highlights would be pink at this point. Okay. Yes, that's okay. And now down here, the darker one. Do I still have my head in between? If I work with the zoom function on this thing, I will always have my head in between. I have to bring down the camera, the whole camera. Okay, once again in the darkest areas for this one too. And I mean here, these areas are way bigger. And like I said, I tried this before. If it would go through, I learned that the prismas are a pretty good barrier between markers and the paper, because the waxy layer is closing really good, so it holds up pretty much of the water and the marker pigment. This helps a lot to prevent the bleed through of the markers. Go in here and pull the color out in the bigger areas. Don't know if you can see it, how rich it gets with this water. And then just blend it out, spread it out. All those pigments that are now trapped in your brush. Okay. Think I like that. I like that. I like that. Okay. Let's see. We have some contaminations. Okay. And now, from now on, I will use this, because these colors will activate if you have just a little tiny bit of sweaty hands. So that's also something you have to be careful. If you lay down these Tombow markers, when I don't record, I usually color the whole page with pencils at first and then go in with the Tombows, because now as soon as I touch this and have a little bit of warm and just a tiniest bit of sweaty hands, I will get these on my fingertips and then I will smudge it all over the place. That's why from now on I will wear this protection thingy, because there's no sweating through and I can maneuver over it. That's all fine. Okay, now I will just show you how light-handed I will lay down these little bad boys, and then we will activate a little bit, and then I will let you go for this one and finish the background, and then we will see us here again when we color in our little dragon. He will be red and white, just the same colors as the mushrooms. You can see here I'm pretty careful. It's dry, it's not wet, but I press it already down with a paper towel. just in case I have some red stains on my fingers from here. Here I'm getting a lot more streaks that I would want to, although I use really the flat surface of the crayon. I try to not twist it too much and not turn it too much or change the angle too much, but yeah, sometimes it's just not happening. Oops. Okay. It's a little harder on this side since the book is bending up a little due to the spine. We all love the spine. I know that. Heard that a lot. Yeah, here we are getting a little bit of streakiness, but I hope it will dissolve later on. I'm not pressing too hard, but because the paper is bending, the flat pieces of the crayon will not always hit the paper, just as flat as they would normally do. Down here it's way better already. Okay. I don't want to have the darker blue streakiness here, so I will not use it in this area. Okay, then the light blue, maybe as if there was a stripe here, just very light-handed now. Very. Doesn't help, great, because we are going upwards a little bit on the paper right here. Okay, a little bit down here. Oh, music. Okay, did we put it here? Oh, maybe a little here. Okay, so then let's quickly. Oh, you can see the streaks. Let's clean the brush, move everything out of the way. Here I made a little mistake. I think I colored this blue, but it will not be blue at the end. You can barely see the light blue, but it's there, I promise. So let's start down here. I use a lot of water now, but I will again try to work in sections, and the peeling in the paper is starting again, so we will have quite a few of these little bumps here. And I really try to not to touch the mushroom now because of the Tombow markers. They will run and they will bleed. So better leave 1/2 millimeter in between than risking to get the bleeding of the marker into your blue background or whatever background. Yes, here you can see the bumps are coming out, but I'm fine with that. It's okay. They will dry to a certain point, but they will not dissolve completely again. They will stay there. I know that. I'm fine with it. It's okay. Okay. Using quite a bit of water here. And working my way from the outside to the object. So this is a very light blue. I know that, and that's just exactly what I wanted. So we will see if I will darken up this blue. I'm not sure yet. So yeah, from the outside to the inside. Because since I laid down such a big area, if you're coloring towards, you will pick up more and more pigment. So the further you go to the middle, the more pigment you will have on your brush, because you're basically just collecting it. And if I would do it the other way around, then I will end up right here, but with a whole lot of pigment on my brush. And then it will create one of those harsh lines that we all don't want. Most of us want to go for a very smooth outline, and it should fade into nothing, but you will not achieve this if you go to the outside and then just collect a lot of pigment on your brush. So in reality, it's even more blue than you can see, I promise. Once again, start up here. Oh, interesting. It's leaking. It's never done this before. From the outside to the inside. And I always try to point with my the tip of the brush really directly into my object. Because on this outer side you will always have a smoother edge and a smoother dissolving than on the tip. That's what I usually do and try. In these areas it doesn't really matter because you have a line around this area anyway, so you don't try to get an open transition into nothing like here, so it doesn't matter. Now I would have to turn you around a bit, 90 degrees. Okay, but I can see right now we are already, let me turn you back, we are already at the almost 50 minutes mark. I will do the background just like this, maybe add a little bit of light blue here and there, but other than this I don't want it to be a very fancy background at this point, so it will not distract from our mushrooms. And yeah, so we managed to get the mushrooms in and started a little bit of the background. The mushrooms are done, and so the next part will be our dragon. And we will do it red and white also, maybe a little bit with these brownish areas, maybe for the wings. I haven't decided yet, but I really wanted to match it, to match the mushrooms. So I hope you liked this video, although it's already pretty long again, but I hope I could show you a bit and give you a few tricks how I color mushrooms. And yes, so next time we will color a dragon together. Hope to see you all over there in the next video, and thank you so much for watching. Thank you all so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. Also check out my Instagram, and like I said, hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!